Hey everybody, it's Lisa here with Lisa Marie Accounting, and I'm doing the second knowledge up session, or excuse me, Sass It Up knowledge session for business expenses and streamlining your tools. If you actually got to see us or see me last week when I did the first session on Saturday, I talked all about why it was important to budget. And if it's the first time you're listening or excuse me, viewing, watching my live video, I can't talk today. I want to tell you a little bit about myself. My name is Lisa. I'm the owner and founder of Lisa Marie Accounting. Hey, Louise. I am a profitability coach. I'm known as the Sassy Southern Accountant. And what I do is I help online women entrepreneurs and women entrepreneurs take the chaos out of their numbers and show them how they can be sassy and sexy. So last week, I talked all about why it was important to budget. And I want to add on to that this week with the business expenses, which is actually part of your budget. It's really the big part. And then also how you can streamline those tools so that you're not spending so much money on those expenses that, as we say, it sinks the ship. Hey, Holly, thank you for joining. So what I mean by streamlining the expenses is when you first start going into your business and you start building your business, we start adding on some expenses, you know, like a calendar, online scheduler, email list. We probably invest in a coach and things like that. It's not so much the big ones that I want you to really pay attention to, but it's those tools that we need, like the MailChimp, your email list and stuff like that. Lisa's awesome, and she really doesn't. Oh, thank you, Louise. But I want you to pay attention to the smaller expenses, because what happens is when we don't pay attention to those tools that we're using and those small expenses, they start adding up. And then what happens is they end up making your ship sink. I'll be honest, it tips the scale because you're not paying attention to all of those minor small expenses. $10 here, $15 there, etc. So what I want to talk about is some of the things that you can utilize until you can add some of those bigger expenses. For example, I just went to CoSchedule. Now, for the last 2 years, I haven't been able to use CoSchedule because it's more on the expensive side. But on first 2 years, I was using Buffer. Buffer is used for free, and then you can go to $10 a month. Hootsuite, I think, is also free at first, and then you can also upgrade to a $10 a month. So those are things that you can do. $10 a month is not a lot, so it's a tool that you can use to help you post your stuff and help you schedule until you can actually get to a point to where you can actually grow. It would have been kind of stupid for me to actually just jump in and go straight to CoSchedule at the higher end price when I was just first doing my business and I wasn't even sure the direction I was going to be posting or how I was going to be doing it. So you want to be careful and be smart about what you're actually investing and those expenses that you're actually using, because those small expenses, honest to God, they add up. Before you realize it, you're spending $2,000 and you're not realizing where it went because you weren't keeping up with those small expenses. So Hootsuite, Buffer, those are really good ones. There are other software like MailChimp. I'm gonna be honest, I still use MailChimp. I haven't upgraded because one, I'm just literally growing my email list, so there's no sense in for me to go to a more expensive one. So again, those are things that you kind of take into consideration. MailChimp is free up to a certain point, and then after that it can be like $10 a month. So for me, that works because it makes sense not to actually start adding more expenses in that area just yet. And one of the things I want you to also is a lot of people go, oh, well, the accounting softwares are really expensive. Excuse me. And actually, they're really not. You have some that are more expensive than others, but if you're just starting out and you're just getting started, like a lot of y'all are, one of the ones you can look at is Wave Accounting. Wave Accounting is free, and it's in Canada and the US. So for all my Canadian followers and my friends over there, you can use it. It sets up for Canadian just as well as it sets up for US. And again, it's free. It's the closest thing to QuickBooks or Xero, which I would recommend. I personally don't like FreshBooks, and it's actually like $9.99, but I don't like it. I like Wave. I'm actually, excuse me, certified in it, and I can actually help you with it as well. But it's really easy. It's easy for you to set up, and it's easy for you to figure out how to work it as long as you keep it up. Again, it all comes down just like Buffer and Hootsuite, right? Why would you go and get buy it or pay for the membership, oh, crap, can't talk, the monthly, if you're not going to actually utilize it, right? So you're paying $10 a month, but you're not utilizing it to post your stuff. The same way goes with Wave or any other thing, even if it's free. It's not going to help you if you're not utilizing it, right? And all the coaches will tell you that. So Wave is free. It's really good to start. Hey, Jane. So it's really good to start, but you want to make sure you're utilizing it, okay? And I recommend that you stay on you're looking at your budget monthly, just making sure you're staying on top of your expenses. I recommend you actually make sure you're doing your software for accounting books at least once a week, so that you're making sure nothing's getting missed, because again, they're software, so sometimes things don't go back and forth like they should, so you have to double check. But I would recommend you're doing that so that you're staying on top of that expense part of your budget, right? Because that really, really makes sense. And you would be surprised how often when you don't stay on top of those small expenses, things happen and all of a sudden you're spending so much money and you didn't know where it went. And so, hey, Kristen, thanks for joining. So I want you to think about it this way. You need to invest in your business, okay? But like I told y'all last week when I talked about why it was important to budget, you need to be smart about it. I want you to invest. I just want you to do it smart. You don't need to go, like I was saying, go and jump into co-schedule when you're not quite there yet. Now, for example, Kristen, I'm going to use you as an example, sweetheart. Kristen and I talked yesterday, and her type of business is a massage business. And going to be doing body works. And one of the things is that she found for her business was a software that would do online scheduling. Correct me if I'm wrong, Kristen. I think it's some social media, online scheduling, social media, take payments, and it has several other things in there that it would do. Okay, and the price was actually very, very reasonable. Okay, it was like $30 a month. That's smart. Okay, because she's getting like 3 or 4 things that I honest to God pay separate for, but I'm not in the same type of business she is in, so it would make absolutely no sense for me to do that type of software. But it makes sense for her because one expense is basically going to take care of 3 or 4 different things. She won't have to go get an online scheduler. She won't have to do her email marketing in somewhere else. She can do it all right there. And so that's actually really smart. And now she doesn't have 5 expenses. She just has 1. And it's so much easier to keep up with that 1. So when you're doing that, you want to make sure that you're being smart of where you're putting your money. Research and ask, right? Kristen said, yes, marketing, email, and social media, and it's all can be on Apollo. That's right. That's right. I thought I was remembering correctly, Kristen. Thank you. And so the point is being smart about it. You have to be smart when you're making those investments. And I consider even the tools investments, okay? Just like when you're being smart about hiring a coach, you're doing your research. You're figuring out which one's going to be perfect for you, right? And you're figuring out which one is a good fit. Well, the same thing works for the tools. And sometimes the tools aren't going to be a good fit right away, or they may end up being not a good fit at all, and you have to move to something else. And that's okay too. But do some research first to make sure that you think it's going to be a good fit. And then, as always, I tell you, go with your gut. But, I mean, it makes sense to actually pay attention to those small expenses because it does add up. And those are the ones that are going to get you in trouble before your big expenses. Now, I'm going to use me as an example. I've been wanting to hire a VA for like the last, 2 years, and I haven't been able to. And I've been paying attention to my expenses, all of my expenses, big or small. And now I'm to the point where I'm like, you know what? It makes sense. I can do it. And now I've hired a VA. And so a bunch of stuff is going to come off of me, which is a godsend. But I had to make sure I was at that point where I could actually make that investment and it work. Kristen, and I talked to several other massage therapists who have used it and loved it. Exactly. I mean, you did your research, and then when you and I talked, I looked at it, and for the money, it just makes sense because you don't have to go and get an online scheduler. Now, this is the other thing, y'all. A couple of people have wanted online schedulers, and they don't want to add that $10 a month because they realize that's an extra expenditure each month. Well, I actually used one that was free for like the first year. And I used it, and then I switched to another one that was actually $10, and then I stayed with it for about 6 months. I didn't like it, and then I switched to Acuity. So if you can do $10 a month and you're needing an online scheduler, Acuity is actually the one. I can't recommend it enough. Appointee is the one that I used before that. It's not the best in the world, but it did okay. I think Calendar, I'm not know if I'm saying that right. That one I think has a free one for a little while. At least I think you can do like so many appointments. But again, research. I guarantee you will find some minor. You've got so many tools out there that are low cost or no cost, just like I was telling you with the Wave. Wave Accounting, which I recommended to Kristen as well, is free. And again, it's a really good software. You can have it on your phone. And I want to say, if I'm remembering correctly, because I don't utilize it all the time, but if I want to say, it actually has a way you can upload your receipts to it as well, and it'll attach the receipts to the expenses, which is another good thing. So again, it's free. It's available in Canada and in the US, and I highly recommend it. Now, if you're wanting, eventually you may end up needing to go to a different software, then yeah, I have other ones I recommend. I personally use QuickBooks Online, but I don't recommend you setting that up all by yourself. It's very easy to mess things up. But my whole point in this live is for you to realize that your expenses are just the first part of your budget, okay? Honest to God, it's the first part. There's the reason why there's 3 more. I think there's 2 more. That's the reason why there's 2 more Facebook Lives, because the last 2, the events of this month, are the other part that I think is important for your budgeting, which is setting money aside for your taxes and also paying yourself. To me, you have to look at the whole big picture in order to make sure your budget works. You can't just look at your expenses. However, your expenses are really, really important. And the reason why is because, let's face it, if we don't make those investments, we can't grow. If we don't have those tools, then we're going to be sitting in front of the computer 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And the whole reason we have our business is so we're not doing this all day, right? You want to grow. You want to actually spend time with your family. I don't know about you, but I don't want to sit in front of a computer all day. That's the reason why I started my own business and got out of corporate. So those are things that I want you just to take into consideration, right? Is do the research and look and see what other people are using. Ask me, ask a coach, ask other people, ask other entrepreneurs. Say, hey, what are you using for your online scheduler? What are you using for your email list? What are you using for this? And then go and look at them and see what their prices are and see what would actually work for you. And then be smart about which ones you're going to add and keep up with it on your budget so that you know where you're at with your expenses, right? Because if you don't, again, remember, I actually posted it earlier this week telling you that those are small expenses are the ones that are going to sink that ship. And those are the ones you actually need to pay attention to. And you can ask anybody, whether it's your personal budget or your business budget. It's not the big expenses that end up getting you. It's the small ones, because you're constantly going, oh, that's $10. Great. Oh, that's $5. Oh, that's $10. Well, then by the time you're done, you all of a sudden have spent $2,000. And you're like, wait, crap, where'd this money go? And now it was all those $10, $15 that started adding up that you weren't actually paying attention to. So we want to make sure we're paying attention to them. Does that make sense? Give me some hearts if that makes sense, please. Hopefully that makes sense. Does anybody have any questions so far? Plus, sitting too much is terrible for your health. Yes, Kristen, sitting too much is very terrible for your health. My fitness trainer would actually agree with that. and it's not comfortable for a very long period of time. But does everybody understand so far? Does that make sense? I hope it makes sense. I want you to realize that when you're looking at your expenses, your budget, your expenses are your first part, but you need to be mindful of it, and you need to be mindful of what you're investing in, and make sure that it's that's going to give you a return of investment. That's going to be a tool that's going to actually be utilized. I mean, I'm going to be honest. I paid for Buffer for a while. I guess, I don't know, for like the last 4 months I had it, and I didn't use it. And so I canceled it. And then then I was realizing, okay, well, now I'm not posting like I'm supposed to be, and I wasn't keeping up with it, but I needed something better. And I was to the point to where I could actually invest in CoSchedule. And I didn't at first. I did the free trial. I actually talked to people who used it. My coach uses it. I've got several entrepreneur friends who use it. So again, I did the research first. And then I tried it myself for the first 2 weeks on the trial that they give, and I was sold. So again, you got to make sure that you are paying attention to what those investments are. And the other thing I want to stress is, just because what works for one is, again, not going to work for everybody else. It's the same way as when I'm working on my clients' books. Just because I'm going to recommend something for one client as an accounting software, or and a coach may recommend something else, it may not actually work for you, right? That's the reason why you want to make sure you research it and see what it is that you're needing and what they're going to be able to offer towards you. Because just because, well, perfect example, we have everybody that's on here. There's web tech guy, there's massage therapists, there's health coaches, there's regular coaches. So everybody, there's different types of businesses that you're all in, right? So none of you are in the exact same type of business. So what your needs are going to be different. So you want to pay attention to what everybody's doing, and ask them what they're using and if they like it and why they like it or why they don't like it. But then you want to also look at what your needs are and make sure that that tool can actually meet your needs. And if it can't, then look towards something else before you actually go and pay for it and then never utilize it, because then you're just throwing money down the drain, and that's not an investment, in my opinion. You're just literally throwing money away, which is not good for your business. So you want to make sure that you're smart about those expenses. And the reason why is because that's going to actually help determine what you can budget to put, what you have to budget to put money aside for taxes. And that's going to help you budget to pay yourself, which I know everybody who's watching this now and who watches this later wants to pay themselves. Why else are you in business except to make money? Well, I know it's probably because you're passionate about what you do. I am. But I'm also in business to make money because I want to spend more time with my girls. I want to take them on vacation. I want to travel. I want to do things. So in order to do that, I have to make money, right? So you have to make sure that you're being smart about those expenses so that you can know those true numbers and then be able to budget to put the money aside for your taxes and put the money aside, be able to budget to pay yourself. And that's where the sassy and sexy money comes from. Okay? Honest to God, that's where it comes from. And I'm all about sassy and sexy money. Ask anybody. It works. And when you actually pay attention to those expenses, then you have, you're empowered and you have knowledge, and you don't have the money controlling you, because now you're saying, okay, this is what I'm going to invest in. I'm going to utilize this tool. I'm not going to utilize this tool. I'm not going to invest in this right now. And then you're able to see what those expenses are. And so if you research it, you may actually find that there are some tools that you can actually use that aren't going to cost you any money. They're actually available for free. And you can utilize them and use them, and it helps you grow your business. And now there may be a point, you know, that you'll get to a point to where that no longer suits you and you need to upgrade. Okay, that's all great. But for right now, you utilize that and you also saved your expenses, and that money was able to go somewhere else. Does that make sense? I hope so. Everybody's quiet today. Y'all are watching, but y'all are quiet. Hopefully that makes sense. Does anybody have any questions? Yes, no? Makes sense. Thank you, Kristen. And I meant to tell you too, Kristen, thank you. Oh my goodness. I had something pop on my phone telling me that you had like told, I don't know, like 15 people about my group. Hello. And one of them's already answered the question, so I approved her in. So she's in there now. And then I think you told some more people and they went and liked my business page, so now they're following me. That's the way to warm a girl's heart. Thank you. That made my day. That honest to goodness made my day. So thank you very much. And y'all, that I'm here to help y'all. I love what I do so much that honest to goodness, I think several people have said they could do what they do for free. I could too. I could talk about numbers. I could help you with your numbers. I could make sure that your budget is set, and I could do it all day and not think twice about it for free. So I want you to utilize what I'm helping you with, and I want to be able to help you as much as possible because I want you not to have chaos in your numbers. I want you to succeed. Yes, boss babes, love it. You made, Kristen, you honest to God made my day. I saw it pop up on my phone and I was like, holy crap. So it just makes sense to pay attention to your expenses, okay? If you don't pay attention to your expenses, you can't budget to pay yourself. It's not possible, okay? You can't say, okay, I want to pay myself this money without knowing how much your business expenses are. So if you really truly want to be able to pay yourself and you want to pay yourself consistently, the first step is knowing what your expenses are and knowing what even the small expenses are and being mindful and looking at it and going, okay, am I utilizing it? If I'm not, if you haven't utilized it and you're not going to, cancel it. Save your money. And then if that's not working, but you need to utilize something else, do the research and get to find something that you will utilize. And so that way you know what your expenses are so that you can budget and pay yourself consistently. And consistently can be once a week, every other week, once a month. I have one client who pays herself twice a month. I have another client who pays herself once a month. And then I have one who pays herself once a week. It's what works for you. The key is being consistent about it and knowing how much you can actually pay. And you can't do that without knowing your expenses. I will sound like a broken record because I constantly say that, but you can't. It's the only way. So that's the reason why I say the budget has to be a big picture of everything together. Take advantage of the free trials. Yes, because I mean, if you don't like it during the free trial, okay, you might have wasted a little bit of time, but you didn't waste any money. You know what I mean? And if you're not sure, ask them for a little bit longer. I did with CoSchedule. I thought I liked it, but I wasn't sure. I told CoSchedule, I asked them for another week. They, honest to goodness, actually gave me another 14 days. So I had it for almost 28 days for free. Now I've upgraded. I've already paid for it for the first month because I know I want it. So you just need to do the research. And the thing I can't stress enough, don't jump on the first thing. Make sure it's what's going to work for you. And make sure you're getting what you should be getting back. Okay, if that makes sense. You've got to get return of investment. And return of investment can actually be time as well. So if something's going to save you time and you're going to utilize it, then that's still a return of investment because you're not having to spend more time doing that. Instead, you can actually be doing something else to make your money, or spending time with your kids or your wife or your spouse or whoever. So hopefully that makes sense. So I am not going to talk anymore because I've talked about expenses and nobody likes talking about expenses. That's like one of the worst things to talk about. But I want to stress how important it is. And then I also want to tell you, to remind you that right now we're in the middle of the launch of the Sassy Budget Breakthrough. And that is where I actually walk with you hand in hand for 4 weeks, 5 calls, one-on-one with me. And we actually set up your budget. We actually set up you budgeting your expenses. We set up budgeting yourself. We set up budgeting the taxes. All of that's in. We spread it over, like I said, it's five 5 calls over 4 weeks. And for right now, this launch only, it's $129 for the whole thing. So you want to make sure you take advantage of it. We start April 2nd. I'm really excited about it. It's the Sassy Budget Breakthrough. And if you have any questions about it, let me know. If you have any questions about this live, please hit me up and ask me. I will gladly answer any questions. Kristen says, oh yeah, ask if it can be customized. Sometimes they will tailor things for your business. Yeah, that's true. Some of them will. A lot of the email software sometimes won't, but that's when you can actually eventually hire a VA and they will know more of what they can do. My problem is I don't know enough about those email softwares to do a lot, which is the reason why I finally invested in a VA, and now I'm not going to have to worry about it. I have somebody to do it for me, which I'm very tickled pink happy about. So you just need to, that's the other thing, is know what you're good at, know what you're going to utilize, what you're going to do. And if you're not going to do it, then that's when you need to look at the budget and say, okay, can I invest in someone who's going to do it for me? Who can I invest in to be part of my team and take care of this for me? For me, it's my email marketing and my blogging. I don't want to do it. I don't like doing it. I don't have time. And so that was huge for me. I tried doing it on my own, and what happened is I buried it, kind of like what a lot of y'all do with your accounting books, right? So that's the key. Now I'm saying, okay, I'm not burying it anymore. I'm handing it to someone who loves doing it, and she's going to take over it for me. It makes sense. And so now I don't have to stress over it. I don't have to worry about it. But I knew I could invest in it because I knew my expenses. I knew my numbers. And so you have to know that so you know whether or not you can invest in something, okay? Because that's what it is. It's an investment. And you have to know that. Same thing with your accounting books. If you're going to set up Wave and you're going to do it yourself, awesome. The key word is you have to utilize it. If you're not, then there's no point in setting it up. And I don't mean to be mean or anything, but there's not. It's a waste of time. Okay? Because you can set it all up, but it's not going to give you what you want unless you're actually going in and categorizing your expenses and your income, utilizing it, and then you'll be able to pull a report and be able to tell. Now, if you know you need to utilize it, but you don't want to handle it, something you hate, you don't like, again, look at your expenses and see if it's something you can outsource. Because you want someone who's going to have your back, who cares about your business just as much as you do. Okay, that's a big thing. So you want to make sure it's a good fit either way. Okay, so that's it for today. Thank you so much for everybody who hopped on and watched. Next week, we're talking about, I think it's taxes, y'all. I think it's next week's taxes. I can't remember. And then it's paying yourself, or vice versa. Honest to God, don't remember. But next week, there's another one. Next 2 weeks, we'll be literally going over setting money aside for taxes. Yeah, I know it's a big one you don't like, but it's important. And then we will also be talking about paying yourself, which should be a lot of fun. Okay, because I know everybody wants to pay themselves. I'm happy you found me too, Kristen. I'm so tickled. I can't wait for us to start working together. And thank you for all the referrals. Keep them coming. As soon as they answer the questions, I will put them in the group. I did put one. I think there's like 4. I think you, honest to goodness, we referred like 15 people. So it's pretty awesome. So thank you again for coming. If you want any more information on the Sassy Budget Breakthrough, let me know. If you have any questions, let me know. And otherwise, I will see y'all later. Bye.